Pitter patter. Let's get at her. It is another episode of the Mainly Broncos podcast, and the Denver Broncos are streaking once again. They're streaking once again, and the Broncos are have another big game. I should say like these next 4 games, but the next 3 of the 4 games, if you will, are going to be tough games as far as separating the men from the boys, if you will. And what I mean by that is, I mean the number 1 seed, them probably officially clinching a playoff berth. But it's an exciting time. It is an exciting time to be a Denver Bronco fan. They've already have the most wins comparative to last year, and it's fun. It is super fun. Make sure you hit the subscribe button for the MHRT Network page. And also follow the boys. Follow Jordan at Jordan T. Lopez and follow Brandon at Brandon Miller PO. We do have a YouTube channel for Mainly as well that you can also subscribe to for Mainly Broncos. YouTube is doing this fun thing now where there are also memberships now. So when you go to the YouTube channel of the MHRT Network, there's a join button. Make sure you hit the join button, and you can decide whether or not what plan works for you. That is simply a choice that for you. We're not going to force it on you, so it is entirely your call. So, but before we dive into the game and of course the streaking Denver Broncos, the beloved Denver Broncos, chat. How we doing, Brandon, Jordan?
Doing well. I mean, no complaints over here. Basketball season's been very busy for me, but in terms of football, last weekend got to see right before the Broncos win, my Miami Hurricanes rightfully getting into the playoffs. So last weekend on Sunday, I mean, that was great. Great day for me.
Brandon?
I'm doing great. I am either happy or sad that your college football team did or did not make the playoffs, sports ball, and I think that'll be a good game. I know nothing about it. I don't follow any college teams, so I'm just kind of like, cool. Whoever's in is in. That's cool. I don't really care.
It could be worse, though. I was gonna say it could be worse. You could be a team who just simply elects to not play in a bowl game because they weren't selected to the college football playoff.
That's true. It could be worse. But watching the Broncos win and the Chiefs lose in the same NFL week always just puts a smile on my face.
Yep.
And we'll definitely talk a little bit more about those playoff scenarios and everything, because obviously everybody likes to talk about whether or not we want to be rooting for the Chiefs or, and stuff for this Chiefs Chargers game this upcoming weekend, but it is definitely going to be a fun time, and it's as we said, it's an exciting time to be a Broncos fan. I will say this: the XFL was fun for maybe one era, and it was the "he hate me" era. Ever since then, it's kind of lost its luster for me. I don't know about you guys, but to say the XFL is the best league, I don't know. But I will say the "he hate me" era was quite a fun trip.
Can we just discuss real quick how much the NFL is forcing the Buccaneers and us to waste these amazing orange creamsicle jerseys on such a disgustingly terrible snooze fest of a football game that is going on as we speak, and no one knows about it because it's pretty much terrible.
I have a question about that. So aren't you supposed to wear either your alternates or your throwbacks 4 times in the season?
Dude, no one knows. No one knows. It's kind of in that same tier of what is a catch,
I was going to say,
what is a football move, and what are the uniform rules.
I was going to say
tonight on Unsolved Mysteries.
I was going to say, Jordan, you brought up something over the weekend where Seattle was wearing like it feels like they're wearing their throwbacks every single time.
It feels like the Bucks and the more than ever the Seahawks have been wearing their throwbacks every week.
I mean, they are fire, and
I
also
know, as they should.
how much I love the Seahawks uniforms in every possible way.
Do you guys have a favorite? I mean, take the Broncos one out of it. Like, do you guys have a favorite when it comes to those throwback uniforms?
Dude, so many of them are just straight gas. Like, obviously the Broncos, but the Buccaneers are incredible. The Eagles green is incredible. What do they call it? Kelly green. And then the Seahawks are kind of my top three. But they all cooked.
You really can't go wrong with any of them, I don't think.
I'm not gonna lie. Besides the Broncos, may be a homer just because I live here, but the Dolphins are pretty nice.
Yeah, because what the Dolphins is just basically right, like they have this the stripe right on the
Yeah, they
shirt.
have the stripes and stuff. I like the Oilers. I mean, those always are nice.
I was gonna say, when was the last time they wore the orange? The Dolphins. It's not
I
a
don't know,
throwback
but
per se, but
I was a big orange guy for the Dolphins.
The Dolphins, I mean, I love the helmets. They're throwback helmets. The uniforms themselves, I don't know. I mean, they're not bad. They're not bad, but I'm just kind of like, But the helmets are sick, though. I love the helmets.
Yeah, it's funny because like I'm a big like nostalgia person, right? Like, and I don't mind the Green Bay Packers uniforms, but the uniforms that they're wearing this Sunday for the Broncos game, it's actually one of my favorite uniforms for the entire Packers and frankly maybe the entire league. Like, I love the white helmet with the, with the just bright like the white uniforms, like, and frankly it goes to show you like probably how clean our all white uniforms really are. Like when we've done it, but yeah, because like the Falcons and Bucks are going on right now, and they're wearing the creamsicle uniforms, right? Like, and those things are so freaking nice. So I again, I don't think you can go wrong with any of them, right? Like, I really don't think you can go wrong with any of them. I will say, I think the one that I think probably deserves more publicity when we talk about the throwbacks would be the Jaguars.
Jags are nice. I like that old school logo of the
Yeah,
Jaguars.
like the ones with the like that they did in the '90s with the Jaguars like logo on the shoulder pad and everything. Like, yeah. Which I don't know where they stand, but that would be incredible if they wore their throwbacks when they're here. That would be great.
The Jags are kind of another one that I don't know. I'm like, I love one part of it, and that's the Jaguar on the shoulder pads. That part is sick. But I don't know. I guess I'm picky. How do you guys feel about the Packers throwbacks?
See, for me, like their throwbacks would be like something from
the
like the 1800s, because like what they wear now.
That's fair. It's not really. I guess it's not a throwback, but it's like the fake leather helmet.
Yeah, because I was gonna say what they wear now is might as well just call it a throwback that they've made permanent, right? Because that's the thing too. Like even in college football, right? Like Penn State basically wears the uniforms that they've worn for forever. Nebraska, they kind of went back to it, if you will, but they're wearing the uniforms that they have notoriously worn, and accustomed to wearing. Miami, frankly, should be going back to its roots of what they did in 2001, frankly, but but no, I mean, overall, it's not terrible though.
I agree.
Yeah.
All right, gents, let's dive into this. Let's dive into this Broncos game. It is, it's an exciting time. The Broncos are streaking. I will say it's well past the Rookie of the Year. The longest winning streak is 2 on the season. So, the way I would probably describe this game is, if you were a box score watcher, and you didn't watch the game, shame on you. shame on you. But for the people that are box score watchers, didn't watch the game, and came to the roughly the same conclusion, and I know there are people out there because I saw one of them today that admitted that he didn't watch the game, but he admitted that the Broncos were quite efficient, in their drives. Kudos to you for being honest. And the fact that the Broncos had a very efficient offense on Sunday. So, let me just.
I don't even think it's worth talking about those people. The obvious box score watchers that said that this game was close. Okay, cool. I don't care. Let's
Brandon,
talk about the actual game.
I mean, Brandon, what do you mean? We were just a punt return touchdown.
Yeah, dude. It was not. It was just like barely a one score game that we definitely were close to losing to the Raiders that are absolute garbage right now.
If we didn't have that
we almost lost to the 2-10 Raiders.
If we didn't have that punt return touchdown, we would have lost the game. That's what they're telling me.
Yeah. But in all seriousness, for those of us who have eyes and actually enjoy watching football and then talking about it, that was probably one of the most efficient games that I've ever seen. Definitely in recent memory from the Broncos, and definitely for just Bo Nix and his career in general. Like, yeah, the stats aren't flashy. Like, he didn't throw for a touchdown. He only had that one rushing touchdown, but just like in every possible way, we just owned and dominated this game. We had like 2 different touchdown drives that lasted over 8 minutes, which is ridiculous. Like, that was just that's control. That's how you control a football game. If you look up control in the dictionary, you'll see the final score of the Broncos Raiders from last week.
Jordan?
I agree with Brandon. I mean, if you actually watched the game, you would have seen that the Broncos were in the driver's seat the whole entire time. And if people were to listen and read the quotes that Bo Nix said after the game about how the Raiders defense was taking everything away deep, so he just took what they were giving, and that sums up the whole game. Efficient, just taking what they were giving you. Run game was good. It was just, again, those 9-minute drives, not only is it impressive in terms of just controlling the game, but we've seen this offense like shoot themselves in the foot every single time. So to sustain that long of a drive 2 times, you can't shoot yourselves in the foot. You have to be perfect each and every play, like for 9 straight minutes. And the Broncos did that. And that was the more impressive part that I thought about it. That was the Broncos didn't shoot themselves in the foot, and it was just a million cuts that they're just giving to the Raiders, and it was perfect.
I will say I will say, probably looking at it maybe in a biased view, but when people are describing this game and they're saying it was a glorified practice for the different Broncos, the way I'm looking at it is that was just the Broncos just completely decimating the entire Raiders the entire game. Like, that's how I would be interpreting that. And I think that, like, for the Broncos, like, Brandon, Jordan, when you're talking about like the drives, the 8.5 or more drives, like, when was the last time the Broncos even had drives like that? Like, what I thought was so funny was, like, the Broncos the week before allowed an 18 or 19 play drive to the Washington Commanders, and then they just literally do the exact same thing to the Raiders in an 18 play drive that literally took up 40 minutes of a game. Like, it was just insane domination and efficiency, for this Bronco game. And why don't we just kind of just kick it off? Because I think we kind of just figured out that, like, the game balls is like the large conversation of when we kind of hand things out, because like that's the best way to kind of break down the games when we start talking about it. The one thing I would just say, and I want to hear your thoughts about this, Brandon, because it wasn't heated. Like we were on rather the same page in regards to the fact that the Broncos, at least at the point when we were talking last week, they need a back possibly for the stretch for the playoffs, right? Like we agreed on that. It took a little bit, but we agreed on that. The game that RJ Harvey had, as much as like our first game ball, and going to kind of Bo Nix, if it's not him, it's RJ Harvey. So I want to hear your thoughts, Brandon, on just RJ Harvey and the game that he had, because it was such an incredible performance from RJ Harvey.
Yeah, it wasn't the most flashy, kind of efficient game. He had like that one long yard run towards I think it was in the second quarter. Other than that, he's just been basically just like kind of being the bruiser back that you all kind of expected him to be with his build coming into the NFL, where he wasn't. I think he averaged like 4 yards or something a carry, which is not terrible, but he seems to be a guy who kind of thrives on volume. He's kind of in that. I mean, like I'm not saying he's Derrick Henry, not even remotely close, but he's sort of in that Derrick Henry shell of like he's one of those players that he just wears you down, and he needs a lot of touches to kind of get into a rhythm, and like he doesn't get any quicker, but he doesn't get any slower, and he just like continues to basically just try to run you over. And that's kind of the game we saw from RJ Harvey. Was able to get into the end zone, really made a really big impact in the receiving game though. I think that was a big takeaway for me specifically. And like we knew that RJ Harvey was a good receiving back, and we had seen it happen before, but this is the first game in recent memory I feel like they've really tried to put more focus on passing the ball to him specifically. So that's something that I'm interested to see moving forward if that continues. And then we talked about it too, and I talked about this even last week. We also saw more runs from under center as well, which, as I had mentioned, statistically, and just kind of looking back at the film as well, that's usually where RJ Harvey is just averaging, I think, an extra yard per carry on runs from under center, and is able to just be more efficient with that. So that was interesting to see them also kind of switch more to that kind of look. But I do think that was the most targets that RJ Harvey received in the passing game. Let me just double check that. Yeah, all season. So hopefully that signals that that's going to be a bigger part of his game moving forward. But unfortunately, I was 1 week late on the RJ Harvey having a 100-yard game hot take prediction because he didn't do it last week. But he did.
Well, depends on how you're going to look at it. If you wanted to say 100 all-purpose yards, you would have been accurate.
I just said 100 yards total. Doesn't matter how I get them.
But yeah, it was 100 all-purpose. What about you, Jordan? And just kind of like because obviously you had a basketball game last week, but to talk briefly about just what RJ Harvey did on Sunday.
Yeah, RJ Harvey is he's coming into his own right now, and it's actually beautiful to see. You can notice though that the offense does miss J.K. Dobbins a lot, but I think RJ Harvey is getting up to speed on what his role is going to be now, being the primary back, and just getting more familiar with the offense. But I thought what Brandon said was perfect. The under the center stuff, I mean, I've been screaming about it since last season. It was refreshing to see that. I know it wasn't the most under center plays we've seen from them, but in terms of how many possessions we got and like the percentage, it was a good usage of it. But yeah, RJ Harvey, he's already shown us what he can do, catching the ball out of the backfield and all that. I was impressed with his running style and his running game against the Raiders. I understand it's the Raiders, but even the last time we played them, we struggled running the ball. So it was nice to see that improvement. And RJ Harvey, he adds another dynamic layer into this offense where I don't want to say we become a little bit more unpredictable, but Sean Payton can get more creative with the ways he can use RJ Harvey.
I mean, when Sean Payton was describing the Joker, it's never just one person. It's it can be multiple. And so I think the fact that I mean, Evan Ingram didn't exactly have, the game, but sometimes one Joker's not really having a good night. You might have another guy, you know, end up being that type of player. And RJ Harvey would tend to fill that mold, if you will. And that even goes to when he was drafted, if you will. And that was, I think, the most important part of this takeaway for me, uh, just as far as RJ Hart in. I mean, I think we're scratching the surface of where he is and his potential. But what I thought this game was really good to look through is his draft profile. One of the biggest things and his biggest pluses coming into the NFL was his yards after contact, or his ability to take hits but still stay up on his feet and fight for extra yards. That was a huge thing in this Raiders game, right? I mean, frankly, there's the Mims punt return, but you could argue that the hit that he sustains in the first drive of the game, where the Raiders, true to form of being a 2-11 team, tries to tackle Harvey. He breaks out of it, but then another guy tackles Jamal Adams, on top of it, and he breaks it into a first down, run. Really impressive break as far as, Harvey and getting that first down. And I thought it was a really nice little look through of as far as like what his draft profile is. And so now you start adding on to the features of the fact that his pass pro the last 3 weeks has gotten better. The moment that J.K. Dobbins is not there, and his pass protection has been, frankly, exponentially better, I think is obviously the biggest development of all of that. And man, is he smooth. Man, he is so smooth out of the backfield. And maybe it's too soon to have this conversation, but obviously this has been a big Emeka Egbuka podcast, when it was happening, but he's really tapered off, right? Like he's really tapered off and really cooled down. And Travion Henderson, he had that big high, but he's really kind of really not performed. So I say this that, like, depending on what happens, and with no J.K. Dobbins, and the fact that Harvey leads all rookies with 9 touchdowns, I wonder if, depending on what happens with these next couple games here, if you see, say, like that kind of game mixed in with a couple touchdowns in games, you might see a little bit of a RJ Harvey Offensive Rookie of the Year kind of campaign start to kind of get started a little bit.
One thing I will say, just to defend our boy Emeka, I would put more of his recent downfall on Baker Mayfield than anything, because Baker has booked for like 2 months.
He's really kind of as well.
No, I mean, I think RJ Harvey, look, when we drafted him, I was pretty shocked that was going to be our pick there, for as high as we took him and given who else was available. I'm still not sold on him being like the running back of the future, because I think if you put a running back, you put an all-star, like top 3 Jonathan Taylor level running back in this offense, that'll feed families in. Chef's kiss. That's what we need so badly. But I think it's encouraging. It's encouraging to see what we see from RJ Harvey. That was also the most snaps from under center that the Broncos have run this season so far. So that'll be interesting, again, to continue to watch. And the other thing just that I wanted to mention there before we move off that topic is Bo also looked pretty good playing from under center as well. So I know that was kind of the other question, was like, what's that going to do to Bo's game? So that'll be interesting. But no, I was encouraged by that game from RJ.
We had I was gonna say, we had a Christmas party on Wednesday. I had a Christmas party in Jordan at a basketball game on Wednesday, so we are going live on a Thursday.
No, I was gonna say real quick, like, I think him also being under center can kind of calm his feet a bit, because everything is more in rhythm and more timing routes and just more stuff like that. Like, it's just known that when you're under center more, that it can help in many ways than it can't. So I'm glad, and I'm hoping this is a trend now that we see from this offense, that they're more under center and stuff like that. Bo Nick's stats when he's under center have been really good too for his first 2 seasons. So I expect a lot more, and I expect to see Bo run more. And we saw that in the red zone, and he scored, and it was beautiful.
It actually, I thought it was a QB power. It's just a flat QB draw. Like it was just a flat QB draw, and
That was great.
and obviously the quarterback dominates the conversation. So like when we were talking about at the beginning of the show, the box score watchers and everything, a lot of that is attributed to the narrative on Bo. Because if you watch this game and you watch the game that the Broncos had against the Raiders, it was such a calm, efficient game from Knicks. And frankly, that this is why we're saying this, that the last 3 weeks from him has been absolutely stellar, right? Like it has been absolutely stellar. And we captioned it, I believe it was on the 5280 podcast, about Bo Nix as an MVP, question mark, if you will. You need your players who are MVP, right? Like MVP type of players to rise to the occasion and play in their biggest moments. And the last 3 weeks, when it came to the biggest game that they had in the last 10 years, to the game against the Commanders, to the game against the Raiders, which, it was the Raiders, but given the magnitude of specific game, which was they win that game, they have the clear foothold of the number 1 seed if it ended up being a tie. It's a pretty big game. It was a pretty big game. And when you kind of look at it through that lens, and he absolutely performed. No touchdowns, no interceptions, but he has been calm. He has been efficient, and he just looks different. And I think it's just his confidence has just reached a whole new level right now that we hadn't seen, frankly, since maybe the last end of last year, maybe to a certain degree.
I'll let Jordan chime in there if there's anything he wants to say.
No, I agree. Like I'm pretty sure. I'm in agreement with him. Like I believe that is the case. It sucks that social media can derail that a bit, but I'm pretty sure that now that we've gotten a lot of games under our belt in terms of like people are watching them. I mean, the Broncos have been on some big games this year to the point where we've gotten a lot of eyeballs on us. That some of that narrative has been destroyed, right? I think we can all agree about that. But also a big part of it is social media, that people are just never going to admit it because of their egos and stuff. So,
yeah. I think, it's a small sample size, but based on what we've seen so far from his career, Bo seems to kind of be, at least early on, one of those better in the second half of the year kind of guys. So ever since that mini bye week, he's been lighting it up. And I do think that you've seen him be more willing to take shots as well.
Confident shots.
I would say that he definitely looks a lot more confident. Especially compared to the beginning of the year where he just looked like he was playing scared. And it kind of looked that way at the beginning of the year last year too. So I don't know what the deal is, but if he's able to, hopefully go into this offseason when the season ends and kind of take away from all the success he's had, going double-digit wins in the first back-to-back 2 years of his career, and just being able to kind of put everything together and start turning it on a little bit earlier in the year, a little bit earlier in games. And I wonder if that's similar or in any way related to like why he seems to usually play better at the end of the game as well. He's the second half of the season quarterback. He's also a second half of the game quarterback. And I'm just curious to see if he starts to maybe turn that around as he maybe maintains that confidence from game to game and from season to season. But I definitely think he's starting to get hot at the right time. And like, if you're going to do one or the other, I'd rather start cold and finish hot, because the teams that start heating up when you get close to the playoffs, those are the scarier ones. Those are the ones you don't want to play in January.
Yep.
Yeah, it's excuse me. It's definitely one where you are definitely seeing plays and throws from Bo that you didn't see last year in terms of the confidence. I mean, look, we know that Mahomes is significantly ratcheted up the no-look pass, even though it's been done from guys like Aaron Rodgers and Matt Stafford before him. But when a quarterback is doing that, right, he's doing the no-look pass, and he's doing it with regularity, and he's successful with it, that's, I think, when you're starting to kind of see a little bit of a more confidence, and he's kind of feeling himself out a little bit when it comes to that. So I think that's just one simple instance where you're like, okay, this is a completely different Knicks than we have been seeing, even 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. And, he was still rising to the occasion and playing at some really high level when it came to the fourth quarter, like really high level. And now it's all starting to kind of come to a head in terms of all 4 quarters. And it's frankly such a beautiful sight to see right now because the Broncos need it. If they're not going to really have a consistent running game, they clearly have seen that they can be able to win some games through the air and relied heavily with his arm if need be. Maybe not necessarily the most ideal scenario, right? Because you want to make sure you're running the ball, coming playoff time. But it's a good recipe to have to where you just, at the end of the day, you don't want to be one-dimensional. So I want to ask you, Jordan, because I mentioned this on Mario's show. And it's not that I'm dogging on Franklin or hating on him in any way. But we are still entering a little bit of a dilemma with him, where you can definitely see the potential. You can see the potential in him. But one of my biggest critiques for him, like my largest critique with him right now, it really seems like he's not really using his hands all that much. He's body catching everything. And maybe you could argue that he probably should have body catched, if you will, that fourth down play. He did catch it, but as evidenced by the replay and everything, he was short of the sticks and stuff. But if maybe he used his hands there, you don't have a fourth down, play that was not converted versus it was a play that actually got converted. It's frustrating right now. But like on the flip side of this, it's like there's that NFL Films clip that's circulating where it's obvious that the one person or two people that are in his corner, or two large people, if you will, is the staff and obviously Bo. So obviously you've been a supporter of Troy, but I want to know where you're at right now, because it's a little bit of a dilemma right now with Troy.
Yeah, I wrote about it actually today on Predominantly Orange, on his struggles and how to get him back to his early season form. Right now, it looks like his confidence is dipping a bit. I think in the last 5 games, he's had 6 drops. I think it was the first 7 games of the season to begin. He only had 2. So it was a big difference. And I think it's been getting to him. It's more mental than anything with Troy right now. I would rather Troy go through his struggles now and then him catch heat towards the end of the season going into the playoffs. Right now, I think it's just a confidence issue, a mental issue. And I think it's something that Sean realizes, and I think it's something where we have to get him going early in games. And I know everybody has hated the screen passes, but again, Troy excels in that area. So whether it's the screen passes or just in the quick passing game, getting him easy catches, easy routes, and gaining that confidence, boosting that confidence throughout the game. Because at the end of the day, whether people hate him or not, we're going to need him in this playoff run. So again, he's still one of our more dynamic players with the ball in his hands. And as soon as we get that confidence up, I think we'll see the early part of Troy that we saw early in the season. I won't say I'm overly worried. Again, I'd rather him struggle or get through his struggles now than it being the playoffs. I think all in all, it will get resolved. I have the utmost faith in Payton when it comes to that player relationship and understanding how to, navigate that confidence waters with his players and whatnot. And again, at the end of the day, he has Bo, and Bo is going to try to get him right. And I think when it's all said and done, when we're going into the playoffs, Troy will be on his way up.
Yeah. What about you, Brandon? Because like we do have the Franklin conversation. It feels like every week, but like it is a very bizarre dilemma because like he is like his quarterback, right? Like every time it feels like you're down on him, right? Like he he rises to the occasion and he plays at such a high level, right? Like so the moment you doubt him is the moment he's catching a 2-point conversion to take the lead, or or catching a really big catch, like that sets up a game-winning field goal, or or possibly a game-winning touchdown. So it's like he's definitely rising in some of those big moments, and he's definitely progressing in terms of the year. It's just one where there's just a few areas that he still needs to get worked on.
Man, I don't know what to think about Troy Franklin. As much as I love the guy, I just think the biggest problem with him is I don't know which Troy Franklin is going to show up every week. And I feel like with the way that this team is constructed, you can't have one of your top weapons be like that and be that inconsistent. Because like, yeah, you can kind of say the same thing about Bo, but I feel like when you have a weapon and a wide receiver that is as up and down as Troy is, he almost makes Bo look worse. And the reason I say that is, like, obviously, yes, Bo has had good games. He's had bad games. He's left a lot on the field. He's also had a lot of drops. And I feel like there's been times that if Bo is able to connect on like a couple of those deeper shots that he throws that could have been hauled in, or those like slant routes that get dropped where there was like literally no one in front of him. And I just feel like that's something you can't have when you are a team that, again, is 11-2 this year, looking to make hopefully a deep run in the playoffs and looking to hopefully win from now on in the future. Like, you just can't have that. And I think wide receiver is quietly another pretty big need going into this offseason after this season. And I think a lot of the reason is because you don't know what you're going to get out of most of your guys every single week. And I'm honestly including Cortland Sutton in this. But if you're wanting to, like, I think of all of them, Sutton is probably the most consistent. Although I will say Pat Bryant is looking pretty good. Although unfortunately he's sidelined with a hamstring.
Yeah.
But like going into a year in the draft where if you want to add more of like a twitchy slot guy that could potentially take over for Troy Franklin. Like, Troy Franklin is not someone that I would say this role is not guaranteed for him, and he needs to step it up. Otherwise, like, regardless, I think we need to add more weapons. But I just think I don't know what Troy I'm going to get, and that scares me.
Yeah, and the other thing is, like, the more you add to the room, it's also some that you need to replace, with that. And so it could be a hard conversation. So Lou is still with PO. I would imagine he actually put an article out today, considering I'm surprised his fingers haven't fallen off. He writes like 50 articles a week. So Lou is still there. And then also, we actually have always done shows on Wednesdays. It's just, I think what we do is we just kind of just make sure our schedules and everything and stuff, the way that we can be able to make it work and everything. And so obviously we had the Christmas party. I had a Christmas party yesterday. And then Jordan had the basketball game and everything. And so we just felt it was necessary that we just go ahead and just do the show today on Thursday. But I should say it's been a little bit more of a regular thing as of late. Sometimes has been kind of on Thursday, but in the past and everything else, it's always been Wednesday, same time, same bat channel. So we answered this to a degree last week, Brandon. That said, I don't mean to go too much onto the RJ Harvey conversation we just had, but I will say to Will's question here, if Harvey progresses the way that he did as of right now, you may not need to. Like, you may just simply at this point want to just have a re-sign of J.K. Dobbins, and then and then you simply just have RJ Harvey still, who's just continuing to get better, week in, week out.
I mean, I'm always of a draft running back. I'm always in the draft running back camp. I don't think you can have too many running backs. The shelf life, unfortunately, for them is not very long. And I love JK, and I think you want to keep JK, and I love RJ Harvey, and I think he's looked good. But and neither one of these guys has proven that they are able to be consistently available and be consistently able to produce for this team. And so I'm not saying they can't, but until you see that from someone, to me, that's a position like you just throw darts. You throw darts every year. There's always super talented running backs, and you can hit on one and just transform your offense in so many ways. And I don't even know if all of this is on them and all of this is on RJ Harvey. And the reason I say that, yes, I do think, again, I stick by what I said with always draft a running back. I do think there can be a case though for just the run blocking on the offensive line has not been great. Specifically Luke Wattenberg, not been the best. And then we lost arguably.
He had a good game against the Raiders. We'll just give him that.
He was better against the Raiders for sure, but just in general, that's not his strength. And then Ben Powers being able to, he's been designated to return from IR, which is promising. But
yeah.
I think if you're going to have Luke Wattenberg and be missing Ben Powers, you're not going to get the same kind of just tenacity in the running game from the interior of the offensive line if you don't have Ben and you're having Luke Wattenberg. So that's just another thing that I'd keep an eye on is, do they look to maybe upgrade the run blocking at all? But yeah, I do think, again, I'm just in that always draft. You always draft one. You can't have too many good running backs. And if you don't have an elite one, they're cheap, they're young. You can get them in the 4th round that are game changers. So you just keep going.
I will just say this too. It's as things currently stand now, I don't think there's a wrong answer. But as we kind of progress week after week, right? Because that was Harvey's 3rd start. We have to remember that was Harvey's third start in the NFL. So if things are progressing and getting to that level that we saw in the Raiders game on a weekly basis, maybe that's worth a conversation. Let's
although one thing I will say is we're talking about running backs, and I've seen a lot of discussion about this on the Bird app.
Is it still the Bird app? I'm
just going to call it the Bird app because I refuse to call it X. It's just stupid. I did not start this conversation, but I am so down on the potential trade for Bijan Robinson train. As much as I'm I don't know about trading for running back, that's the exception.
Yep. I mean, I didn't know that was an idea.
I've seen quite a few people talk about it. I
was gonna say Jordan. I don't know where you've been. I was gonna say Jordan. I don't know where you've been, but Lou mentioned that in the chat multiple times. He even mentioned just because of the current state of the Falcons.
Dude, also just free Bijan, man.
No, take Drake London.
That's more realistic.
London too, man.
I think that's more realistic.
Either one.
I don't think Bijan's the more realistic, just because Bijan's a freak of nature. I mean, I don't think they would trade one of the best players. But again, Michael Parsons.
You're basically giving Sean a Jahmyr Gibbs, like a true Jahmyr Gibbs at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I truly believe Bijan's the best running back in the league. So, no, yeah, I mean, I would do that in a heartbeat if that's an option. I would for sure do that.
I don't know, it just feels like they're not using him as much as they have before. I don't know what it is. And sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you, Cam.
No, isn't Algier a free agent too in the offseason?
He is. Probably. I would rather draft Mark Fletcher Jr. than Tyler Algier, though. So,
and I mean, there's no the Falcons have absolutely zero reason whatsoever to do that trade. But after giving up assets to go up and get a pass rusher in the 1st round this year, and with the way that offense just looks, and really honestly, that entire team is kind of I don't know what's going to happen. I've heard of crazier things. I'd be happy with either one of them.
Yeah.
But
I mean, and
bring Bijan to Denver.
and
That would feed families.
Crazier things has happened, right? That you really can't even describe as far as like it actually going down. Like Peyton Manning is landing with the Denver Broncos. It happened. So let's transition to something that has transpired the last couple weeks, if you will. The defense is playing incredibly well still, but, and that's a rather large but, pause. But they're leaky right now. If there is one thing that you can kind of say, and maybe this is a nice little transition as we're kind of like gearing up for this Packers game, but like that's not exactly the right recipe right now as you're kind of looking into this Packers and Broncos game. Is the big plays has been something that is really kind of doomed in the last 3 weeks. And, and maybe that's just because they really didn't lose a step as far as, when Surtain went out and all of a sudden he's back again. And oddly enough, it kind of has messed with the chemistry a little bit. I'm only speculating on that, but it was because Surtain, he's fine. Like he looks fine. But he's still looks like he's still kind of getting a little bit into game shape. But yeah, Jordan, I want to hear your thoughts too, because it's like they are a little bit leaky right now. And, when you have Josh Jacobs coming to town, who has quite literally owned you, in his career when he was with the Raiders, it's not exactly the best recipe right now.
Yeah, it's hard to defend Denver's defense in terms of the conversation of the number one defense in the league right now, just because like a few weeks ago, I was all on board on defending them without a doubt on they're the best defense in the league. These last few showings, like how you said, Cam, I think it's perfectly described. They've just been leaky. I don't know what it is. I feel like we're getting less pressure than we used to. I don't know if it's a fatigue factor with our pass rushers, even though we rotate quite a bit. I don't know what is up, but something just feels off with the defense right now. And transitioning into this Packers game, ironically enough, I feel like this is the game for the defense where they kind of get back into their groove of things. So I know the Packers wide receiver room is sort of deep, but
they're almost kind of like ours to a degree. Like there's not really one, like maybe on the higher end. But
I agree.
Yeah.
And I think this is the game for the defense where they get their swagger back.
Brandon,
it has to be. We're coming up on. This is the test, boys. This upcoming stretch of schedule is going to be like this. This is the pregame for the playoffs, if you will, for the Broncos, because man, this Packers team is getting after it, and I'm excited to kind of see what this is going to look like. I do think you're going to have to see, like, just by necessity, both sides of the football for the Broncos that have both been, let's say, inconsistent for most of the year, whether it's like the defense being elite or the defense like just somehow giving up touchdowns to people that you've never heard of before.
Who was it? Was it Bo Jackson's?
Yeah. Was his only catch was a touchdown so far this season. His first career catch.
Oh, we're talking about
Raiders, yeah.
Yeah. I don't even remember his name, to be honest. Oh, Shedrick, right? Shedrick Jackson. Yeah. Anyway, didn't even know there was any relation there, to be honest with you. Yeah, that's just, I don't know. This is going to be the game. I think with the rest of the season, you can kind of get away with it because, like, beginning of the year, you have those two fluke field goals that kind of flip the game. And then for the rest of the year, like, yeah, you play the Chiefs, but that was just, I don't know. The Chiefs are just weird this year. And like, you're able to get away with it. Same thing kind of with the Texans, and, you know, CJ Stroud goes out in that game. So that kind of flips the script a little bit. But my point of this is I feel like we've gotten away with being able to find ways to win without having both sides of the ball having to be on, which is great. But I think getting into the playoffs, you're going to have to start to be more consistent there. And I think this is a game where you're going to need that, and you're going to have to start heating up in that way leading into the last stretch of the season. And I'm excited to see what happens, because I do think this defense has the ability to slow down the Packers offense. And I think the Packers defense, for as good as they also are, I'm excited to see what Bo is able to do here. So this is going to be a fun game, but it's going to be a challenging one.
And the last thing I'll say before you go, Cam, is that the thing that worries me is I remember how the timeline gets when the Broncos lose. Just, we haven't lost in a while. It's the Broncos are due for a loss. They just are. I don't think we're gonna finish the year 15-2. There's no way. This team is due for a loss, and I feel like this is the game. It just, I don't know. It feels too good to be true right now of the season, which, again, I think this team is really good. But to just continue
Broncos own the Packers. The thing with Seegers.
They do.
Broncos own the Packers. It's not quite the Dallas Cowboys type of level, but like
it's similar,
but somewhat similar. They're 13-1. I don't know. I don't know. It's me, and what I was getting ready to ask is a completely separate conversation, if you will, because I wanted to ask, because I was listening to 92.5, and they didn't spend a whole lot on this, but it was just something where Tyler Columbus and Scott Hastings were having this brief, like 2-minute conversation about it, where to what you said, Jordan, and I maybe this is just worth a conversation if you'll just make it quick. To your point, they've not lost in a while. So, and I'm not trying to say like I want to lose or I want to lose, right? Like I'm not actually saying that. Like I want to lose a game. But to what Jordan is saying, like they've not lost in a while. So would you rather this streak continue to add up, but in every single game, the moment you are winning games, right, the pressure is just more and more and more mounting for you as you're progressing through the postseason, which, I mean, it makes it more and more, impressive for sure. But would you rather, and this was their question, would you rather them lose a game? And the way that they said it is for them to learn how to lose again, is the way that they said it. So like, would you rather them lose again and then kind of just start fresh and everything, in this end of the season?
It's tough because, like, I was talking about this with my brother. Like, he asked me, like, there's no way you want to go into the playoffs like still on your winning streak, because like there's like you're gonna be due, and I'm like,
it's more brutal, right?
I know, but it's weird. Again, I don't want to lose, especially that, again, the Chargers are only 2 games right behind us, so we actually like have to be in these must-win games. But like this, I don't want to say the team has to come back down to earth, because I think Sean Payne is smart. I mean, again, he's a Hall of Fame coach, so he knows what he's doing, but like he understands what it takes to continue to win and stuff like that. He understands what it takes not to lose a game. So it's a mental gymnastics with me with this question.
I know.
I've been fighting with it since we've beaten the Raiders, to be honest. So it really is tough. I wish I can give you like a strict positive answer. I just don't know.
And because like at the end of the day, I don't want to lose a game, right?
Yeah.
Like Brandon, like I don't want to lose another game, but it's one where the pressure just continues to mount for every game when you're on a winning streak, right? Like, and that's what made, not to go to a different sport here, but that's what made the Rockies streak so impressive when they won 21-22 to go to the World Series. Now they had that layoff before they played the Boston Red Sox and everything, but like it was such an impressive streak that I would argue they win the World Series. That's probably one of the best winning streaks and championships of all time in any sport. But like it's one, Brandon, where it's just like I don't know, like because the other side of this too is like I don't know what would hurt me more, Brandon. It's like, so say the Broncos hypothetically lose this game, but they lose it like 34-17 versus like 34-31 or something. You know, like that point I would be almost like, man, I'd be completely devastated for the fact that I lost that game 34-17 than I did losing at 34-31.
I mean, look, we're gonna lose again. Like it's just gonna happen. I've accepted it. Like there's no way we're not going 15-2.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
that's just the truth. As much as I love this winning streak, at some point it's going to come to an end. And I don't know when that's going to happen. To me, unfortunately, I feel like it's either this week or the next week. The Jaguars are like low key hot.
I don't think
Between
they
the two
well
of them,
on the
I'd
road.
rather lose to an NFC team.
I was gonna say they don't play on the wall on the road. I don't think Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Those Florida
Didn't
boys don't
they-
want that cold weather. I'll tell you that for a fact.
No, that's a good point. Yeah, I'm actually curious. I'm gonna look up their schedule because, like, was the Chiefs game in Kansas City that they won early in the season, like week 4?
The Chiefs game was in Jacksonville.
Oh, okay, never mind. I thought that was in KC. Anyway, yeah, I mean, it's gonna happen at some point. I'd rather lose to an NFC team than an AFC team, personally, just
Yes.
for conference standings.
Yes.
But I do think I don't know what it is. Something's telling me it's going to be a good game. So if it's a good game, I don't care if we win. I don't care if we lose. It'd be cool to beat the Packers. This is going to be a test. There's going to be. I'm excited.
Yeah, I think
This is going to be a tough 4 weeks.
I think I said it to Jordan before you hopped on. I said the Broncos have to at least go 2-2 the rest of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're all in agreement that we just want to play good football right now for this week. Again, it'd be awesome if we win. We understand that a loss may be on the horizon, but as long as we're playing good football heading into the postseason, that's all I care about.
And I'm not. I mean, you guys know by now. Like I tend to like talk sometimes in talking points of like sports psychology at times, and I just have to wonder the moment a loss happens. That's the other side of it too. Is like I don't want it to be so demoralizing that it's a completely different team. You know what I mean? Like a completely different team the moment that streak is over with. I'm not saying that is gonna happen, but I just know that those things do cross players' mind and everything. Sometimes it can be a little bit demoralizing. I think with Sean Payton and stuff and him manning the ship and running the helm there, I doubt that would happen. But they're human. They're human like the rest of us. And, you know, those kind of things do happen. Looking at that matchup and just the matchup specifically between the Green Bay Packers, it is a very interesting one because, you know, like we said, the wide receiver room is a bit of a higher end version of ours. They just have a bit of an injury riddled Christian Watson, who's basically their Cortland Sutton.
Yes.
And then they have just a bunch of solid dudes. I will say the only thing that's a little bit different between the Green Bay Packers and the Denver Broncos is they utilize Jaden Reed and we don't use Marvin Mims. That's about the only thing that would be a little bit slightly different. But Reed is definitely I think that, you know, it's one where it's one I don't want to sleep on them, you know, because like, you know, when I look at some of the players that was a really solid one in that room would be Dontavian Wicks, and if you actually look like the last couple weeks, he's kind of gathered a little bit of relationship with Jordan Love, but it kind of starts and ends, right? Jordan and Brandon with Josh Jacobs, though. Now
Yeah.
he did miss.
He didn't practice today.
He did not practice today. I'm
Yesterday.
still. He didn't even practice today,
How
either.
about this? Okay.
It is definitely something that I'm monitoring. But it's also one where it's like I'm expecting him to play, but if he misses tomorrow, yeah, that's where I'm a bit kind of hesitant whether or not he's playing on Sunday if he misses tomorrow.
Yeah, I think usually the Friday injury report tells you a lot about their game status. Listen, Josh Jacobs, this is an AFC versus NFC game. You can take the week off. No need to play this game. But he has a tendency to be the Broncos killer. So
Okay.
I hope he can just take the week off, rest.
Let me just throw this out there though. Is it Josh Jacobs or was it Josh Jacobs being on the Raiders? Because I feel like the Raiders, for some reason, are kind of always that team that for some reason they play us ridiculously hard and seem to do well even if they're terrible against us. So it's like I don't know if it was Josh Jacobs or was the Raiders organization.
I guess we were going to say we would find out on Sunday. But it's a knee thing, right? Like it's a knee thing.
It's a
with
knee
Jacobs.
injury.
And so we know that Jacobs is a bit of he likes to bounce, runs on the outside, and he likes to bounce a little bit as far as a runner. So maybe having that knee kind of limits things a little bit as a runner. So that might be something to kind of watch, if you will, if you're Josh Jacobs. But so the other side of this too is like I don't want to sleep on him. Like I really don't want to sleep on him. But Jordan Love is also, not to do the comparison to Bo a little bit, but it's just like because I think if there's one thing that we've seen with Bo in the early part of his career is he's streaky, but when he's red hot, he is really, really, really good. When Jordan Love is red hot, he's on fire. There's probably not a quarterback in the entire National Football League, except for a couple, right, in elite quarterbacks that can go toe to toe with him. So, and the last game that the Broncos had against the Packers was a defensive juggernaut game. Mance was the defensive coordinator, and I think that was the game or a couple games after the Miami game that when they won. They won 19-17, I believe it was, but it was after the Miami game where they lost 70-20, I think, because then at that point was when it started the whole streak.
Yeah, that's what started it
in 2022. But he was not good in that game. Jordan Love was not good in that game. So the only thing that's just, I would just say, no, I shouldn't say the only thing, but the thing that's just majorly different is Love's a different quarterback than then. And obviously Tucker Kraft is not there. That's a significant loss for them. Luke Musgrave might not necessarily be a guy I want to, sleep on, because like he can be able to play a little bit. He's not Tucker Kraft, but like he's one that I don't want to, lose sight of. But like, I don't know. The Jordan Love conversation for me, guys, is like one where it's like, if he's red hot, it is going to be a showdown from start to finish if that's going to be the case.
Yeah, I agree. Jordan Love, in some aspects, there are similarities between how social media may portray both of the quarterbacks, but I would also say Jordan Love is facing the same defense, but he really isn't at the same time. He's not facing this version of Nick Benito. He isn't facing this version of Jonathan Cooper. Like, these guys have developed into some monsters, especially Benito. So it will be a different monster heading into Denver for Jordan Love. I still think he is a good quarterback, but then also now he has to deal with Hufanga, who has been continuously an All-Pro this year, and then a healthy Dre Greenlaw. So it is going to be a a way different test for Jordan Love this time around in Denver.
Go ahead, Brandon.
I think it's going to be interesting. I don't really know, man. I don't know what to think. I think Jordan Love is a great quarterback for sure. The one thing that I want to do some more digging on this because I don't have the specific numbers in front of me, but it does seem like when you're able to get pressure on him and take him down, he's not obviously every quarterback for the most part, unless you're an alien or Tom Brady, struggles with under pressure at least a little bit.
Yeah,
Jordan Love seems to be that guy that I mean, you look at their 2 losses that were kind of, I wouldn't necessarily say surprising, although you look back at it, kind of. They lost to Cleveland, and he was sacked 5 times, and they lost to the Eagles, which the only reason that's surprising is the Eagles are just terrible. I don't even know what to think about the Eagles, man. And he was sacked 3 times, and those were the most pressures that he was under all season. So that is something to think about. And is this pass rush going to get back after it? Because it does feel like they've been just not quite as good as you have seen them be in the past. What up, Maddie? But it's going to be a fun game. I mean, Jordan Love is an amazing quarterback. Once again, for some reason, the Packers are just blessed and they never have to go through any sort of quarterback insecurity whatsoever because they just pick off a new Hall of Famer off the tree that grows in their backyard. I'm not salty, I swear, but it's going to be a fun game.
What's up, Maddie?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
What's up, bro?
So
Hey, Jordan. What's up, fellow playoff member?
What's up, fellow playoff member?
Kudos to Maddie on showing up and not being like a team of Notre Dame and completely opting out.
Yeah. I mean, just imagine, baby. Head to head still matters.
Obviously, we'll be wrapping up here in about 20 to 30 minutes, Maddie. But your thoughts about?
I never go longer than that anyway. So,
well, and if it happens, ask your doctor. But so regarding the Raiders game. Well, I should preface it this way. Were you a box score watcher?
I mean, they didn't win by double digits, so nothing else matters, right? It doesn't matter how they got there. It was just another 1-score win for us. No big deal.
No, but your takeaway of the game that many box score watchers are calling another 1-score game.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. That was finally the game that we've been waiting for the Broncos to have. They must have watched some tape on the Oklahoma City Thunder on how to just dominate a game, because that's exactly what happened. Long sustained drives, establishing the run, doing what you got to do. Incredible game. And really, I love the fact that it turned out the way it did, because it just proved the people that don't actually watch the games, the ones that are just funneling through the box score, like you said. And it's all right, now I can completely discredit or discard everything that you say moving forward.
Yeah. We talked about the box score watch, and so I don't know if I said this, but I'm a journalism major, and one of the teachers when I was taking a class said, you could write a story if you're looking strictly at a box score, you can write a story off of, what you see in a box score. And I think that that's true, but as evidenced by what you clearly seen in this Broncos and Raiders game, it clearly does not tell the story. It clearly does not tell the story. But even then, I'd argue if you're seeing the fourth quarter and you're seeing the 10 points that happen in the fourth quarter, you could probably use your determination of the fact with your own eyeballs looking at that box score and saying, oh, these were garbage time touchdowns in the fourth quarter. And so just it definitely kind of puts the whole perspective of, yeah, you can write an article about it, about, how it was another 1-score game, but in reality, it was not another 1-score game with how dominant it was. But So you just kind of transitioned as we were came in here, Maddie, as we were talking about the Packers and Broncos game, and you were there when I asked the question, and and Jordan actually brought it up to a degree. When I asked the question, it was a couple days ago, and granted, I heard it on the radio from Scott Hastings and Tyler Columbus when they said that the Broncos haven't lost in a while. And would it? They're due for a loss. They are due for a loss. So how would you feel about the whole, having a 20-game winning streak, if you will, that just keeps adding up all the pressure each and every game versus they got a chance to lose one in a little bit and
recalibrate
a little bit.
Okay. Previous wins don't dictate future results. So if we're flipping a coin, right? It's a 50-50 chance. If it lands on head 6 times in a row and we go to flip that 7th time, is it smart to say, well, tails is due? Or are you like, no, it's still a 50-50 chance? Like over time, some things are going to happen. But in that one scenario, you can't just say, okay, like, well, tails is due. Oh, shit, heads again. Like, it's the other things don't dictate what's going to happen in the future. This team is looking at it the same way. Each week is new. That's why the 0-0 mantra matters, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
This is a brand new week, brand new opponent. First of all, like, for some reason, like we go Super Saiyan when we got to play against the NFC. I'm not worried about the Packers. Listen, if I wasn't worried about the Packers when Aaron Rodgers came into town in his heyday, I'm not worried about the Packers with a beat-up skill position set surrounding Jordan Love. And the fact that the Packers are, 2.5-point favorites is straight up disrespectful. And that's the best thing. Vegas actually did us a favor. So if you were like, oh, they're going to rest on their laurels and, oh, they're on this win streak and they might drop a game, that could have been last week, but it wasn't. We came out and handled business. We're definitely coming out and handling business at home as underdogs. So disrespectful with the best record in football to say we're going to lose at home. Nah, bro. So like the weird due thing, the only thing that's due is for the Packers to get an ass whooping. That's what's due.
So as we kind of are previewing, is there, we said that the Josh Jacobs thing, it's hard to ignore that. He had the career against, when he was with the Raiders. Brandon made the point, that he said was it maybe just a kind of like a Raiders thing, if you will, where was that just simply the Raiders just having our number? But like, is it one for you, like where Josh Jacobs does kind of worry you a little bit, or are you looking at maybe someone else, or the obvious one, which is Jordan Love and everything? But like, when you look at this,
as a Sooners fan, having to go up against Josh Jacobs in the bowl game against Alabama, that was certainly never a good time. But Josh Jacobs, I mean, he's good, but one thing I'm not worried about is a running back taking over running the football. I do worry a little bit out of the backfield, like receiving, getting isolated on a linebacker, things like that. Still running backs and tight ends. That's always a little tricky for me. Their receivers are a bit over. Some of them can be redundant. They do work together. It's a nice core. But there's not like that one guy that just like freaks you out. So like schematically you can lock in a little bit more. Josh Jacobs isn't what concerns me. If we protect the football, we're golden.
All right. Score time, gents.
I think it's going to be a close one. It's like a 23-20 or something.
Jordan?
Man, I know we just had this whole talk about we're being due, and I was just battling it in my head. but I think this game presents a lot of bulletin board material for the Broncos. Broncos defense have been playing that great, so they're kind of feeling that pressure of, hey, we need to step up and actually play good and get out of this funk that we're in. So they have that as motivation. They have them being underdogs at home as their biggest motivation. So I see this game going the Broncos' way at home. I think the home crowd is going to play a big dividends as well. I got the Broncos winning on a game-winning field goal, 26-23.
It would be fitting for this to be like, granted, they've had game-winning kicks before this year, but it would be very fitting that in like the biggest game that they've had, frankly, like biggest game that they've had since that Chiefs game, or frankly even since the one that didn't go their way in the Chargers and the Colts, for it to come down to a game-winning field goal. Gosh. I wonder if this is one where it's a Jordan Love and Bo Nix type of game, It's slightly kind of scary a little bit. And I said I will say if there's anything that's going to be going the Broncos' way these next 4 games, is that 3 of the 4 games are at home, and that is actually a big deal. Like that is a big deal. And so the fact that they have these games against the Packers, the Jaguars, and then the Chargers, maybe depending on what happens, the fact it's at home, I think, is a big deal. And I would tend to agree with Maddie. I think that if there's one thing we've known about the Broncos, at least the last handful of years, when it comes to the spread, and when they feel disrespected about the spread, they have a tendency to perform. May or may not result in a win or loss, but they come out firing for all 60 quarters. So I do think we're going to see a bit of a game, and I will say the Broncos do pull it out. I will say the Broncos, and I will say this: if the Broncos come away with this game, the road to 15-2 becomes a little bit clearer. If they're able to win that game, and I'll say 34-31.
I will just say the Broncos have outscored NFC opponents 125-99 this season.
Jeez.
That's not bad.
It's closer than I thought, to be honest with you. I guess I'm primarily thinking about the Cowboys. Honestly, when I first said 23-20, I wasn't even sure who was going to win, but I'll stick with us. 23-20 and we win, but it's a close one.
Yeah. By the way, when the Broncos are underdogs this season in terms of the spread, we are 3-0-1 against the spread, 1 underdogs this season.
We tied?
The Chargers game was +3, and we lost by exactly 3. So there you go.
I'll just wait. The opposing coach will always decide with 3 seconds left in a 24-7 game to kick a field goal just to cover.
Yeah, I mean, Pete Carroll for sure had some type of money on the game.
Did you hear his reaction? Well, or his explanation to said a reporter asked him about it afterwards. It was literally the most vague, not answer that you could imagine.
I can only imagine.
It's so stupid, dude.
You could just come out and say Brandon Jones was playing cheap, so I was getting three extra points.
You could have just said we wanted our kicker in a practice, anything.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird.
The one of the funniest things was the broadcast team trying to talk up the scenario that they're going to have enough time for an onside kick, and and every and so it's just.
How often do you see a walk-off field goal to lose by 7?
That should be a against the spread agami.
With and the kick as time expires. Good. And stupid.
And people have made the point, right? If there's any game, frankly, that would at least look like it's point shaving or have anything to do with, the spread. It's literally that game. Like, it is literally that game where, the spread was 7.5, and they kicked the field goal to make sure it's 7.
The baddest of beats.
The most ironic part of it is the game took place in Vegas.
All right.
It's perfect.
Yeah. So hopefully, well, it doesn't actually give me at all any hope when Nebraska plays Utah in Allegiant Stadium for the Vegas Bowl, for that spread. But no, yeah, it's gonna be, it's definitely gonna be an exciting, I think, game, and I think it's gonna be an exciting game. I think it's been probably one of the better ones too. And the Broncos have had a lot of really good games. Like, the Broncos have had a lot of really good games this year, and I think it's just going to be one of those really good ones too. One of the ones, Maddie, obviously that you missed is game balls. Game balls. So I did it again at the top of the show, but I will play the video again for you so that you can be able to give some of your game balls as we round out the show. It's a second edition, if you will. Give us some of your game balls from that game in the Raiders.
For me, it was Coach Payton gets a game ball because he didn't get bored taking a profit.
A mile high profit.
And we sustained drives, which is good to see. That's going to be critical in playing complementary football, especially as we get into January. Being able to sustain drives, keep our defense off the field, allow them to rest up so that guys like Benito can just go balls to the wall. Yeah. So that's good to see. We hadn't really seen the offense dominate in that type of a fashion. People are like, oh, they only scored 24 points. It's like, yeah, but they beat their own record for longest drive of the season twice in this game. So that was great. Obviously, the stats aren't going to jump off the page at you, but I got to give the whole offensive line a game ball just because they were constantly getting into the second level. We didn't have a ton of explosive plays, but we had a shit ton of positive plays. And that's what really matters, is being able to consistently stay ahead of the chains. So I'm not going to give a whole lot of kudos to the defense because RIP Geno Smith, but it was really good to see us dominate in a way that wasn't sexy, but it was an actual dominating performance from the offense.
Yeah, we said it when they're explaining it, when some people even that are prognosticators and everything like that, and they're explaining it that it was a glorified practice. That's a good thing. That's a good thing when people are describing it that way, because it means that it is an absolute beatdown.
And I didn't take the low-hanging fruit with Mims because I'm sure somebody else took it earlier.
We actually did not.
No, we didn't.
That's a obvious.
You're my boy, Blue. I'm sorry. I assumed.
We were waiting, and for people that might be in the comments, this was not scripted. Wink, wink. For Maddie to be showing up an hour into the pod, and then for him to be gifted the game ball of Marvin Mims, which, by the way, maybe Marvin actually plays this weekend. No Pat Bryant, so maybe instead of 20% snaps, he bumps up to 21% snaps.
Yep, that's for sure going to be the case.
Oh my gosh! This is what frustrates me. I just gave kudos to the offense, but now I'm pissed again.
Sorry, Maddie.
We are like riding in a Mazda Miata on ice instead of using our four-wheel drive, do everything utility vehicle on offense. Why are we making it more difficult than it absolutely has to be? We have a lot to move. We got a lot of cargo. We're going somewhere. Instead, we're in a yacht out in the Arctic with top down, and we can't fit anything in there, and we get no traction, and we wonder why we spin out all the time. Just feed your most dynamic player on offense. Put 19 everywhere. I just don't get it. I'm confused. I'm baffled, bamboozled, hoodwinked, whatever you want to call it. It's just ridiculous. But anyway, off the soapbox.
But yeah, maybe they're able to play him a little bit more, and you know, I don't know. Peyton is a little bit of a wizard, if you will, and he kind of outsmarts himself. That's what we've always said. So I would not be the least bit surprised if he actually is waiting to showcase Marvin Mims in these types of games against the Jaguars and the Green Bay Packers and everything. So I wouldn't be the least bit surprised. I will say this though, he is a dynamic returner. Like we have not seen. I mean, kudos to Marcus Jones, because Marcus Jones is doing his thing with the New England Patriots. But we really have not seen, maybe Marcus Jones and Mims deserve both of this, but we've not seen that kind of like explosiveness as far as returner, frankly, maybe since Devin Hester, if you will, as far as like on a regular basis. And for the Broncos, if you will, since Trenton Holiday. I mean, Trenton Holiday had his miscomings and dropping the ball on punt returns and everything, but you put a ball, he was just probably 4 years too late, or too early, I should say, 4 years too early when it came to like the NFL and everything, because he has been, because he was explosive as a punt returner. So I don't know, Mims is he really does kind of like turn into the epitome of a running back when it comes to the punt return game. And so even if they didn't use him and come contract year, I'm still extending him because it's clearly shown that he's valuable enough on special teams that he can win games all by himself on special teams. So, yeah, I'm hoping that they can be able to use him on offense a little bit, because I would argue, too, that like, he has the second best hands on the team, or I should say 2A, 2B, when it comes to Pat Bryant and Marvin Mims. But it was just like, as far as like some of the second best hands on the team.
Jordan didn't grimace when that was said, so he must be coming around a little bit.
No, I agree. I mean, that's one thing Pat Bryant can do. Scotch.
Hey, he's a wide what? Receiver? That's kind of important.
Yeah.
All right, gents. Well, thanks to everybody who opted into the stream. Maddie. Oh, yeah, Maddie.
27-17. I didn't give my prediction.
Duh.
Jade Barron gets a pick.
Oh.
Could you imagine? This is the game where we actually get multiple like turnovers, but it's one where it's actually like multiple interceptions, and Hufanga finally gets his interception.
He's saving it for the AFC conference.
No, I was gonna say, dude, I want the positive regression of the turnovers to all come on the AFC Championship game or the Super Bowl.
That would be incredible.
You said 3 of our next 4 games are at home, but really you meant 5 of our next 6, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's also true.
I see what you're thinking there, Maddie. 27-17. You would be the first person of the 4 to have double digits. That would be, I mean, if you want a statement win, you know, that would put a lot of people in a corner that are negative Nancy's if that happened. So, all right. Well, thank you to everybody who opted into the chat. It was a lively discussion. It was a great conversation. Make sure you hit the subscribe button for the MHRT Network and Mainly Broncos. And also, YouTube is doing this new thing now where they're doing memberships, subscriptions. So when you go through the MHRT Network YouTube page, there is a join option. And you can click different options as far as the subscriptions. There's 3 different subscription levels. You can pick whichever one is the best suited for you. So make sure you do that. And we thank you so much for subscribing to the MHRT Network YouTube channel. Follow the gents for the Mainly Broncos podcast. Follow Maddie at Maddie Moles Pod. Follow Jordan at Jordan T. Lopez, and follow Brandon at Brandon Miller PO, and myself, of course, at Cameron Parker PO. It has been a phenomenal show. We are also doing, by the way, short form. Our short form has massively taken off in the last 3 months. Over there on Instagram and over there on TikTok especially. So shout out Josh Sherman who does our short form for Instagram and TikTok. He does a really, really good job over there. So thank you to everybody again who opted into the chat. And until next time, hopefully next week we are talking about a Denver Broncos victory.
Let's go Broncos! God bless Bo Nix! Slurpee? Radical. Slurpee?
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast racking up the flame out.